everybody. Welcome to Blah, Blah, Blah with Katie Sackhoff. I am Katie Sackhoff. We are here discussing this week's Hindsight episode with AJ McLean, and I am joined by the wonderful, fantastic
Brett Sheridan. Oh, he's over
Christian Harloff.
I will tell you that intro is such a different vibe on what the episode in general was. It's like, hi, welcome. This is Peace and Relaxing, as opposed to, no.
I literally, after that episode, called my doctor and said, talk to me about the fast-acting ADHD medication and how long it stays in my system and what exactly it does. And the next time we did an episode, literally the next episode we did, I used medication. Not because I was like disappointed with the interview or anything, just because I saw in myself my ADHD a little out of control. And I still love the interview. It's interesting, but it's really quick, really all over the place. And I wish that I had gone in and managed to keep it a little more stable, as opposed to two friends sitting down and literally just talking the shit, which is what we did for 2 hours.
If we hadn't done, we've done a few more episodes since that episode, right? So had we not done more episodes that I would, because I know there's a few that you've done that are going to be following up that are just like, you can tell you're getting better and better and better every time you do this. And there's some ones that are exactly what you're talking about. It's just this back and forth, listening kind of conversation, interview, but conversation that we've always strived for. Then I would have been like, oh yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you could have done things a little differently. But because those episodes exist, I love the kind of chaotic energy between the both of you in this, because it's like, we have it. We have that. It's there. You can watch it. And it's also, as we said last week on the Hindsight, I respect the hell out of this guy because he came in, didn't know you.
Yeah.
You said, is everything open book? Open book.
Yeah.
And he just kind of, there was a couple times afterwards, you were like, wow, he really went there. That was awesome.
Well, and what I love about it is what I've always talked about. If you lead with honesty and transparency, it will come to you from the person you're talking to.
Yeah.
And he brought it out in me.
Yeah.
But to hear him, to have AJ be that transparent about the things that he has done to his own physical body to make himself more confident with who he is, made me go, oh yeah, like,
right, made you
so
comfortable
what
talking about
if-
it. Right. And I also liked his honesty about certain things where he was talking about the acting job or something too, and he said that I was kind of rooting against him. And
because he got fired.
Yeah, because he had gotten fired from that gig, and it's like, it's that you always, it's like that the old Oscar thing, right? When you're sitting in there and you're like, oh yeah, so and so won and I didn't, and meanwhile they're like, arr.
I know.
And I liked hearing that kind of brutal honesty from him. He did it throughout the whole entire episode.
Well, you're allowed to, at least in my opinion, like I'm allowed to be proud of somebody and be excited for someone and admire the work that someone else has done, and at the same time be envy is the wrong word, but like disappointed that it's not me.
Yeah.
You know, competition, healthy competition, I believe is actually a really good thing. I think that, you know, and we've talked about this, I do not believe in participation trophies.
Right.
You know, I think that there is a very, very important lesson that children learn when they don't win. There is a humility that comes with being able to lose successfully.
Right.
You know what I mean? And have that drive to keep going.
Sure.
And one of the things that he talked about, and this is something that we've noticed in a lot of people that have come on this show have talked about how they were bullied when they were younger. A lot of people, Quan talked about it, AJ talked about it. There are a lot of people who've come on this show that were bullied as children. And I believe that there is an aspect of resiliency that you get when you face adversity at a very young age.
Sure, absolutely. And I think that it also, I mean, he talked about even the idea of how he made it so young. And in that kind of craze back then, because we were around when that all popped with the Backstreet Boys, and how you can understand that. I mean, you don't really remember, especially if you're younger, how big those guys were.
Oh yeah,
Like
massive.
Yeah, and that kind of success, that young, like you always hope that it wouldn't get to your head, and then it won't. But you don't know, and like clearly it affected him in a way where he had to rely on substances, and he rely on these things, and it affected his life in general. But he was able to, and then he had his friend who looked like Tom Petty with him, and they had like that whole, and it's like someone you lean on, and someone like, and he's found strength throughout his year. And I was impressed by him and how he was able to really, maneuver and weave around it and own it.
Yeah,
he owned it.
I understand his need to disassociate from AJ and be Alex, or lose Alex and AJ. I understood that. For the longest time, we talked about this a little bit, I think, in the Bryce episode, where I created this persona that was much more grandiose and bravado than I am in my normal life, because I felt it protected me in an industry when I was young, when I was 18 years old, that was largely male dominated.
Right.
On set, I would be one of the only women on set, and I was an 18-year-old girl, And so I created this character that was very masculine and very much a tomboy, which I already was, but I leaned into it harder.
Right.
I smoked more, I drank more, I swore more, because I made myself what I thought was unattractive. I put a wall up. So I do understand that thing where he created an alter ego, in a sense.
Right.
And then he lost himself in it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he said it. And again, being able to the common theme is owning it, right? And understanding, like, when he was talking about his relationship and how even his wife was like, dude, like, enough is enough. And he was talking about that. He was talking about just his relationships with friends, and kind of the one thing we didn't kind of get into that I think you and I were like, oh, it just didn't go there, was the whole stuff with how he
with Aaron.
Yeah.
Like, I really wish that I had talked about Aaron. It didn't feel. It's not that it didn't feel appropriate; it just didn't come up.
Yeah.
I think that I feel like AJ is a person to sit down and talk to a lot. It may not be his story to tell. You know what I mean? It may be a situation where we sit down and potentially talk with Nick someday. I don't know. But I wanted to talk to him about that because, that was a person who also struggled with addiction. And there were a lot of questions that I had. You see so many young entertainers, whether they're singers or actors or athletes even, who lose themselves and then end up getting into a substance abuse because it helps them mask so many different things. Yeah. And I wish that we'd talked about that, because Aaron obviously tragically, passed away about a year ago now. So
yeah, it's been a long while. Yeah, I mean, again, it's like where that kind of life, I couldn't even imagine it, where it's like it's just a very surreal existence.
Yeah.
And so who knows I mean, you even look at, like, I mean, those guys were performing and singing and doing all that, like, but the young performers, you look at like the Corey Hames of the world, and people, Gary Coleman, people that were kind of growing up and in that business. I mean, Lindsay Lohan, like it's a common thread.
It is a common thread. And it makes me, people ask me a lot if I would let my child get into this industry. I would do everything in my power to persuade her not to. Because I don't believe it's healthy to have this much rejection, this much attention, this much success, this much, all of these things that happen when you're younger. That's not to say that I was special because I handled it. I had my own special set of problems. And my parents let me do this because they saw that I was very, very, very driven, and I was going to do it without their support or with their support. And they knew that if I moved to California without their support, it was going to be a very different life.
Right.
So my parents supported me in financially and emotionally to make this move. That being said, I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how my mom dropped me off when I was 18 years old and left me here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And responsible. My parents are the most responsible people I've ever met.
Right.
You know, I mean, and I look
trust,
back.
Right? There's trust.
Of course it's trust. But I also look back and I think by the grace of all things holy, I didn't die. I put myself in situations sometimes I should have never put myself in situations.
Right.
And, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the ignorance of youth, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And that's like, it kind of just harkens back exactly to what we're talking about here with AJ. You know, it's that if you're able to and you're lucky to come out of it the other side with clarity, there are a lot of people that get that opportunity. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who don't and who never come out of it.
Yeah.
Struggle. Like my uncle was in his 70s. He passed away earlier this year. Same thing, substance abuse throughout but was able to, you know, stay alive until we thought he was going to be, you know, gone in his 40s. But he somehow was able to manage all the way through, but still always had that kind of crutch, you know, and it's like, it's a tough thing to deal with throughout it and be able to it's the strength of it is saying, wait a minute, I know there's an issue. And so what they always say, it's the fact that you always want to help yourself first. It can't be someone else trying to help you. You've got to want to help yourself first. It's happened. I saw it with my uncle. I saw it with my brother. I saw it with a bunch of different people. You got to help yourself first, because if you don't, it's just a never ending. And this is, again, what AJ was basically talking about. He knew it. He knew it was a problem, and good on him. He's able to turn it around.
Well, and I also think that he's so honest about it, and he knows that it will potentially be a struggle for the rest of his life, and he has to stay on top of it, and he has to do the work. And you know, that's what I loved about, he's got so many acronyms now to sort of help him through the day. And all of them seem to stem from gratitude and communication, which is really interesting, because it's so, so, so important, I think, to be grateful for what you have, because if you're grateful for what you have, you spend less time focusing on the things you don't have. Yeah.
It was really fascinating to watch you guys kind of go down this chaotic road.
It was chaotic.
But it was a good road.
It was chaotic.
And we have now had a very famous, successful pop singer.
Yeah.
We've had a very successful veterinarian. We have a lot of really great guests coming up, and I'm excited that we're back and we're moving. It's the podcast is finally in kind of hitting that stride that we thought it would.
Yeah, and so many people have asked about it, you know.
When it's coming back.
When it's coming back, and that they really liked it, and that they found it, and that they're, you know, that they loved the Bryce episode, and then they loved our episodes, which were all filler, because we were like, we have no other episodes. But they, you know, I think that we're finding our audience, we're finding our community, and I think that it's nice that you know, we now can roll out episodes every week, because we have so many episodes now.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't stop doing episodes. We just sort of held them.
No. So should we talk about some of the cool ones we got coming up?
We should.
All right.
We should talk about them.
Next week is our first episode out of this studio with a guest. And we got a good one.
Which was really interesting for us to move to a place where that wasn't controlled by us. That was, you know, was a new studio, a new look, a new all of that stuff. It feels much more serious.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel more serious?
It does. It's a really great studio. It's the same studio that a few of my friends actually have recorded their stuff at. It's got, the set's really cool. And it was really great for me as kind of producing, where I didn't have to do a lot of the stuff that I do here. I could just kind of watch the conversation, take my notes, give you some.
I know. I love the fact that you give me notes though, and I don't have my glasses on. I'm like, Christian, I can't see that.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know what that says at all. So then you highlight it. I'm like, that doesn't help. It's still the same size.
Until I made, but then I made it like a 72.
Like a grandma size.
Yeah, it's true. But,
it's true.
Yeah, but our next guest.
Our first guest was Danielle Panabaker.
Yeah, which is from The Flash, man. It is a good one. Yeah, because we were supposed to have her on in here, and then the strike hit. And we're like, oh, maybe not. And then once we decided we were going to start kind of putting them in the can, as they say, she was our first one, and she was pretty great.
She was a fantastic episode. I'm really excited for that one. You know, Danielle is fiercely private.
Yeah.
And she opens up about some stuff, and we just had a wonderful conversation about life and motherhood and work and you know, all of that good stuff. And then right after that,
let's do it.
We had Ming Na Wen.
That's
yeah.
That might be this is nothing to. I love all of our interviews that we've had, and I love all of our conversations. As I've said, I was in awe of Ming Na Wen. I was in awe of her.
Ming Na is one of those people. I have a really hard time believing that she's the age that she is.
It's crazy.
Well, and I mean, when we talk about it on air, she feigns anger.
It's going to be one of the funniest moments of the show because I have quoted that to my friends like that in my circle, and it always gets a laugh.
It's really funny.
A big laugh. And
she's a very, very funny, smart woman.
And speaking of smart, I mean, the week after that, you got Jack Osbourne coming.
Jack Osbourne.
Yeah.
I met Jack Osbourne 5-6 years ago, and he was so not who I expected him to be, and I immediately wanted to be friends with him because he's not who you think you're going to get, and I love that about him.
I like that conversation. That's a good one. It was a different and kind of similar to this one, and last week's it's kind of a little off our normal radar, but then we get back to a really fun, familiar episode to kind of out of that 4-part that we shot, and that is, of course,
Tricia Helfer,
yeah,
which everybody sort of thought would be my first guest.
I like that it wasn't.
I purposefully made it so she wasn't,
yeah,
because everybody expected it, and I wanted to get good at this.
Yeah,
Tricia's one of my best friends. It's very easy for me to sit down and not interview her. It's very easy for me to just sit down and talk to her, and I wanted to do more.
That could have been the type of energy that this episode was.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Because you have been through the interviews now, you actually interview Tricia Helfer.
I did.
You do, and you get her to talk about things she's never talked about.
She cried. Tricia doesn't cry, you guys.
Yeah, that's good.
I keep looking at myself. Okay. It's also one of the reasons why it's nice that we're at another studio because I can't see the camera. So I'm supposed to look here. There. Yeah. But my vanity
makes you look at the monitor.
Makes me look here. Because I'm like, oh, hi. Yeah. Sorry. I learned a lot from the AJ episode, and I actually one of the things that we've talked about a few times in multiple episodes is mental health. And I do believe I haven't taken my ADHD medication for every interview we've done since. It's giving me a tool. It's actually teaching me what it feels like to listen and then have a conversation.
Sure.
And I find that really interesting that something so simple has, been helping me along the way. I know it doesn't work for anyone. I'm not like a huge proponent of going out and getting medication. That's not what I'm saying. For me, it was interesting. I can take it situationally to potentially, focus my energy, which is, a beautiful thing.
And talking about beautiful thing, we have done so many of these now, and we're moving. And for people who have already, if you're able to subscribe to the channel, the YouTube channel, obviously, you got Apple Podcasts, you got Spotify, a few other fun things that we have going on too, and we're pumped that it's finally in that motion.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I finally got a handle on this. I understand it now, and we've got 2 interviews tomorrow. I'm really excited about that we're recording, and we're just we're cooking with gas now.
Yeah. All right. So let's get the hell out of here.
Let's get the hell out of here. You guys, if you didn't listen to the AJ episode, go back and do it.
Yeah.
Don't drink coffee beforehand.
No. No. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Blah, blah, blah.